I think I was so troubled by my love for horse racing that I wrote Lean on Pete. It's the story of a 15-year-old kid in Portland, Oregon, who ends up working at horse track. He befriends this kind of beaten down, failing racehorse named Lean on Pete. And it's the story of those two trying to get by. I started following racehorses when I grew up in Reno, Nevada, and there was some really great off-track betting parlors. And then when I moved to Portland, there's no places like Reno. There's no gambling, the casinos, none of that culture, except they had like a really low level, like single A baseball style horse track, really down and out, end of the line sort of track. But I fell in love with it just because I was homesick, and then I fell in love with it because watching westerns, you know, grew up with horses, watching them. Never rode a horse, but I fell in love with, like when you fall in love with something, you just start following it and try to get closer to it. And so I started hanging out all the time at the track, 4 days a week. And then I started writing out there because no one's ever out there, and huge tables that you could sit at, like a library. And then I started following the horses, and then I met a jockey, and who was a really cute woman jockey, and I started getting a crush on her, so I met her, and then I fell in love with the horses. Like, I got to buy a racehorse. Well, years later, I ended up buying a racehorse that kind of looks like Lean on Pete. In Portland, you can buy a racehorse for like $200 or, you know, whatever you got for a failed, you know, bad one. So I ended up buying a racehorse just because I wanted to get closer to figuring it out. And I made friends with guys that worked on the backside, and I started hanging out back there a little bit. And but like when you do fall in love with something, you see the dark side of it too. And horse racing, I'm tormented by it because it's a dark sport and a rough sport on horses and jockeys, especially at a low level. But the gambling and the culture is really fun too. I own one horse really, and his name was his racing name is Veritable Dash, and he's a grandson of Dash for Cash, the famous quarter horse. And I found him on the internet in like dreamhorse.com, they call it in Portland, you know, and I fell in love with him, and he was a horrible racehorse. And when I found him, he was a pack horse in the Cascade Mountains for just kind of hillbilly guy, and he was really underweight and really sweet, you know. And so then we brought him home and healed him up, and then he became a surly, mean sort of racehorse, and it's taken years to calm him down. Racehorses are bred and made for racing only. And so they definitely have a different edge to them that most other horses don't. And it's taken a while to get a hold of that. Well, a jockey's drunk, pukes his guts out in an alley. A man loses 100 in a race on TV. Jockey falls off in the 5th. A man loses his rent on that horse in the 5th. Now the horse, he's found both. He's lost 6 in a row, and the killers take him down the road in a trailer that's rusted out and shaking. The jockey's sweating it out in a hospital bed, and oh man, how he's got the shakes. The man's a wreck, just sits all night in the parking lot.